Iran has a rainforest older than human civilization. Iran has 19 ski resorts, and Iran contains the hottest land surface ever recorded on Earth, measured by a NASA satellite for 7 consecutive years. Most people picture one thing when they hear the word Iran. These 15 facts will make that picture inadequate, starting with the most surprising and ending with the one that seems physically impossible. Iran is the 17th largest country on Earth. At 1.65 million square kilometers, it is almost the size of Alaska. It stretches from the Caspian Sea in the north to the Persian Gulf in the south. And because of its enormous area and position at the crossroads of the Middle East and Central Asia, Iran contains geography that most countries would be glad to have even one example of. 11 of the world's 13 climate types exist within its borders. 15 facts from the country most people have never really looked at, counted down from surprising to genuinely unbelievable. Most people have a single image of Iran: sand, heat, desert. That image accounts for part of the country. 11 of the world's 13 climate types account for the rest. In Iran, you can go from skiing on alpine slopes in the morning to walking on sun-baked dunes by evening. Few places on Earth can match that. Here is what the single image leaves out. Fact 15. Northern Iran is home to the Hyrcanian Forest, a UNESCO World Heritage Site stretching along the Caspian Sea coast. This is not a gentle woodland. It is a subtropical rainforest that receives up to 1,600 millimeters of rainfall per year, and it is millions of years old. A remnant ecosystem that survived the Ice Age while similar forests elsewhere were destroyed. Iran's most famous image is sand. Its most ancient landscape is a jungle. Fact 14. Iran has 19 ski resorts. The Alborz and Zagros mountain ranges dominate the country's landscape, with many peaks rising above 3,000 meters. The crown of these ranges is Mount Damavand, 5,609 meters, the highest volcano in Asia and the highest peak in the Middle East. From the ski slopes of Dizin and Tochal, Tehran's skyline is visible in the valley below. Skiing in the Middle East. World-class conditions. Almost nobody knows. Fact 13. Iran contains 11 of the world's 13 recognized climate types. That is not 11 broadly similar variations. That is 11 genuinely distinct climate systems, from scorching hyper-arid zones to subtropical rainforests to alpine tundra. No other country in the Middle East comes close. The statistic is the reason every other fact on this list is possible. Iran does not have a diverse geography. It has all of it. Fact 12. The Zagros Mountains run 1,500 kilometers along Iran's western flank, a continuous wall of stone between the interior and the outside world. The Alborz Range seals off the north. Iran's major population centers sit in high basins behind these ranges, protected by terrain that has slowed or stopped armies for thousands of years. Iran's geography was not just scenery, it was a weapon. For centuries, the mountains were the border that no map could draw. Fact 11. In northwestern Iran, the Aladaklar Mountains are striped red, yellow, orange, and purple, colored by millennia of mineral deposition in the rock. They have been compared to China's Zhangye-Dangxia formations. They exist in Iran, where almost nobody goes to see them. Further south, Hormuz Island in the Persian Gulf is covered in red soil and red cliffs from iron oxide in its geology. Iran's landscape does not need mythology to be extraordinary. The geology has already done that work. Fact 10. On Keshem Island in the Persian Gulf, Namakdan Cave extends approximately 6.4 kilometers through a salt dome, making it one of the longest salt caves on Earth. Inside, salt stalactites cover the ceiling. Salt crystals line every surface. The silence is complete. It is the kind of place that scientists travel years to study and that most of the world has never heard of. Lake Urmia was once the Middle East's largest lake, an inland sea large enough to see from space, teeming with brine shrimp and flamingos. It has shrunk to less than 10% of its former size. Water levels have dropped nearly 7 meters. The lakebed is a salt flat now. The ships that once sailed on it are sitting on dry ground. Stop for a moment, because everything you have seen in the first half of this list is Iran, what most people could accept if they looked. Forests, ski slopes, rainbow mountains, a record-breaking cave. Even a dying lake fits within a recognizable framework of geography. The second half of this list goes somewhere different, a sea that reaches the temperature of a hot tub. a desert where the ground beneath the crust can swallow you, and a place where the surface of the Earth reaches 70 degrees Celsius, not air temperature, ground temperature, 70 degrees. That is the Earth becoming something it should not be. Fact 9. In August 2024, satellite measurements recorded sea surface temperatures in the Persian Gulf reaching 36.5 degrees Celsius, 97.7 Fahrenheit. Almost hot tub temperature. The Gulf's shallow depth and the intensity of the sun above it turn it into a cauldron every summer. Fish kills follow. Coral bleaching follows. Iran's coastline borders one of the hottest bodies of water on the planet, and the temperature is still rising. Fact 8. Iran's central Dasht-e Kavir is the Great Salt Desert, a vast expanse of cracked salt flats that appears from above to be solid ground. Beneath the surface, crust lie hidden marshes of quicksand-like mud. Caravans that strayed from established routes could be swallowed without escape. No warning, no visible edge, just the ground opening. The Kavir remains almost entirely uninhabited. The desert is not empty because it is boring. It is empty because the ground is not what it appears to be. Fact 7. Mount Damavand is the highest volcano in Asia and the highest peak in the Middle East. At 5,609 meters, it is taller than Mont Blanc, Europe's highest mountain. In Persian mythology, Damavand was where the hero Arash shot his arrow across the sky to draw the boundary of the nation. It is the mountain that defines a country's borders, physically and mythologically. Still visible from Tehran on a clear day. Fact 6. The Dasht-e Desert in southeastern Iran is one of the most unusual landscapes on the planet. It contains yardangs, wind-carved rock ridges that stretch for kilometers, shaped over millennia. Its dunes reach 150 meters. That is taller than most city buildings. The locals call it lut, meaning emptiness. For years, scientists assumed nothing could live here. They were almost right. 70 degrees Celsius, 158 Fahrenheit. That is the ground temperature recorded in the Dasht-e by NASA satellite measurements, not the air temperature, the surface of the ground. For 7 consecutive years, Lut was identified as the hottest land surface on Earth. It is not the hottest because of a record-breaking day. It is the hottest because it is always the hottest. Fact 5. For 7 consecutive years, satellite measurements selected the Dasht-e as the single hottest land surface on Earth. In a 2005 measurement, a ground temperature of approximately 77 degrees Celsius was recorded. That is hotter than Death Valley, hotter than the Sahara's most extreme recorded surface, hotter than anywhere else scientists have been able to measure. Iran contains the most extreme heat ever recorded on the surface of this planet. Not occasionally, consistently. Fact 4. Lake Urmia was once the Middle East's largest lake and the 6th largest salt lake on Earth. It supported an entire ecosystem of brine shrimp, migratory flamingos, and Artemia algae that turned the water a vivid pink in satellite images. Drought and decades of water diversion for agriculture caused levels to plunge nearly 7 meters. Today, less than 10% of the original surface remains. The ghost ships in the dried lake bed are not from ancient history. They are from living memory. People who are still alive remember sailing on water that is now a salt flat. Fact 3. The Zagros Mountains were not always there. They are the result of the Arabian Plate pressing into the Eurasian Plate, a collision that has been ongoing for millions of years and is still happening. The same tectonic process that built the Zagros also created the Persian Gulf Basin, formed the oil reserves beneath Iran's surface, and continues to produce the earthquakes that periodically reshape Iranian cities. Iran is not sitting on stable geology, it is being actively constructed. Fact 2. For years, scientists assumed the Dasht-e was completely sterile, 70 degrees on the surface, almost no water. Almost no organic material. In 2024, researchers discovered a previously unknown genus of microscopic algae living in a salty spring beneath the Lut's surface. They named it Lutophila, lover of the Lut. In the hottest place on Earth, in conditions that should make life chemically impossible, life found a way, named itself after the desert that should have killed it, and it was announced to the world last year. Fact 1. The Dasht-e is not just the hottest place on Earth. It is the place that sits inside a country that also contains a rainforest millions of years old, 19 ski resorts, a sea reaching 36 degrees, and mountains that are still being built by a tectonic collision still underway. The LUT is the exclamation point on a country that contains more geographical extremes in its borders than most people will encounter in a lifetime of travel. Iran did not need mythology to be extraordinary. The land already was. 15 facts from a country most people think they understand: a jungle, ski slopes, rainbow mountains, a dying lake, a boiling sea, a desert that swallows travelers, and a surface so hot that the only word for it is impossible. Iran is not one thing. It never was.